Hello members, and thank you for all your help with refining this level 2 system that we're just about to put in place at the end of the month. So thank you very much for your support and help and guidance for adjusting these reports to tweak them to just how you want them. There's one extra part that we're going to be uploading in the next couple of days or weeks, and it's about the signal strength. So it builds on the momentum profile that you probably know pretty well by now, and then it tells us when we're going to get the most out of the Launchpad. So putting these two insights together. Just quickly on the momentum profile, because we will build on this, we're looking at this solid blue line in the top left. This tells us how good the market opportunity is for trading using both a breadth indicator, the percentage of companies, tradable companies that are over the 50-day moving average, and then also the momentum profile, which is how good the top 30 companies are today in comparison to the last 12 months or more. When we put those two together, we end up with this solid blue line. So the bar charts are the momentum profile, and we can see that it was increasing. But what increased at a faster rate was the opportunity, or the chance or the likelihood of finding a company that would go up 10% or more within the next month. Using breadth and momentum profile, this went through the roof throughout April, May, June. And that's what we're looking at here, this final number. They coincide, they all come together to say, look, there is a great opportunity. This is rare, so we need to get fully invested. That's what momentum profile and breadth together are coming to tell us in this solid blue line. And that's going to copy over onto the next page that we'll load. So just in short, it's rare to see what we've got here, the combination of momentum profile and breadth, to tell us that there's a 75% chance greater than normal. So instead of us having a normal chance of finding a company go up 10%, it's actually an extra 75%. It's almost double the chances of finding a company that's going to hit it out of the park for us. So this is good, but remember this solid blue line, because now we're going to have a look at the signal strength, and this page will take a while to load. The calculations are quite intensive, they're very dynamic, so it's all being crunched in the background. That's why we see this little spinning wheel in the top left hand side. It does take a while. So if you load this page, don't be surprised for it to take a while. I go do some push-ups or something and wait for it to come back. But what it's going to do is it's telling us a fair few different things which come through from the questions that we get about the Launchpad. When are we best to use it? Why are the names better in the Launchpad previously? Why aren't I seeing many good names at the moment? That all comes into the market cycle, and that's what we've been able to calculate. So what we called was the momentum speed. How long does it take to get a company from the Launchpad into the top 30 momentum? So that's momentum speed, and that's this blue line that you see peeking out the top here. That's how long it's taken to move from the Launchpad to the momentum profile, to the top 30 momentum, I should say. So the 30-30 list going from the Launchpad to the momentum. Well, the number of days it's in here is getting longer and longer. So just before the market sort of peaked out into May, what we did see was that it just got longer and longer and longer. What that told us is that when a company entered the top 30 momentum, it stayed in there for longer and longer. So momentum markets they run for longer than anyone expects, and they lag for longer than we expect. So momentums lead longer than we expect. That's what that's telling us, and we know that, but there's going to be times where it does work and doesn't work. And this is telling us that is when it's working. That is when we're having those optimal periods of really good, strong momentum. The next question that we want to know is, well, of all the possible companies that are coming through, what percentage of them are ending up in the top 30? Are we just having the same 30 companies over and over, changing the ranks? Or do we end up having a huge amount of breadth? Is there a large amount of the market that's just cycling into this? And are we seeing them all hold a lot of momentum? So that's what we call with reach, which is the dark blue line. And it seems to be fairly constant and fairly steady. It does vary, but it doesn't vary anywhere near as much as those entry days, the length that a leader leads for. So the reach, it does vary, but not as much as what we actually thought it would. Same with the longevity. So that's the orange line that seems to be hiding the dark blue line, the two of them together. So longevity, what we're looking at is within today's top 30 companies, 45 days. So is it there consistently? Is it there within the last 45 days, or are they bouncing in and then shooting out, not coming back? Or are they serial repeaters and they still, it's sort of the rotation that we're looking at, but a different metric of looking at it. Are we seeing in the breadth how many companies, but are we seeing them cycle within 45 days, or are we just seeing them sort of high concentration, like MTM, where it was just in the list for what seemed to be 2 or 3 months consistently? Are we seeing a lot of companies like that, where we're just cycling? It's another way of looking at it. That's why there's a lot of crossover, but slightly different. Anyway, that insight didn't change much. What did change was the purple number, the percentage of momentum companies that came from the Launchpad. So this is what the real signal is that we're talking about with the Launchpad, when we're going to use it the most and when we won't. This one was really interesting for me because I've used the Launchpad a lot in the last 5 years or so. And I know that from my trading for 15, 20 years, I work best after what I call a washout and then rising from the ashes, identifying the next market leaders. That's when my best trading happens. And so it goes. I ended up building an indicator that works for that, which is the Launchpad. And this purple line here tells us, well, there are times to use it and there are times where its signal strength is not as good, hence the signal strength. That's the name that we've got here on the top. The efficacy and the usefulness of the Launchpad drops as the market gets stronger and stronger in momentum. So if you remember that blue line that we had in the last chart, as it's getting higher and higher, and the likelihood of finding a company that will go up 10% on ASX is improving just at random, the usefulness and effectiveness of the Launchpad is dropping off. So this purple line is dropping as the probability of finding a momentum leader increases, as the longevity of a company, of the number of days it stays in a momentum leadership, extends. So this all seems pretty straightforward when we talk about it, whether it's O'Neill, Bulkowski, Minervini. When there's good, strong momentum leaders, you just want to stick with the leaders. We know that. That's what we're talking about on Fridays. And that fits in with what we've observed with Gary over the last few years. The times when we see those clusters, lithium, uranium, gold, property sort of mines in the last 2 years that have really shone out strongly, when we see clusters of those in the Launchpad, that's normally in a period where we're having either a pullback, a washout, or a point of inflection where we actually haven't had strong momentum for some time. They surface into the Launchpad, and that's when we load into them. That's when my trading's at its best, and that's when the Launchpad is at its best. So that's when we're going to see this purple line increasing. That's when we know we've got to lean into the Launchpad, the second half of the 30-30 list. When that purple line is dropping and this light blue line is increasing, the amount of time that a momentum leader stays in the lead and extends from the Launchpad and extends its leadership, well, that's the time to lean onto the left-hand side of the 30-30 list. So hopefully that helps. We get questions on the 30-30 list, we get questions on the momentum profile, we get questions of how we use the Launchpad. Well, now we've created it, and this is for my trading, but hopefully it'll help your trading too. When to use the Launchpad, when am I going to find and load up for the next leadership and look for those clusters of similar patterns and trade the breakouts? Or when am I going to look at the leaders? If I've got 20 companies, like lithium companies that are running, I'm going to lead into the stronger ones that are actually already broken out and follow Minervini, Bulkowski, Kalamagi, all of those types of momentum leaders. When it breaks out and give a little coil and congestion, that's when I'm going to focus on those setups as opposed to the VCPs, the 0, 1, 2, 3s and the like that work better with the Launchpad. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully this really helps your trading. It was eye-opening for me, and when I ran back through over my previous trades and times where I had the best returns, it's confirmed with this purple line and the blue line. So we'll get this updated to level 2. Share any feedback. We've only got a couple of days left. We will be putting this in there for you for level 2 very soon. Thank you again for your support. We really do appreciate it. We love the community, the conversation, people talking about their momentum trading and helping each other with feedback. That's been really good. So thank you.